Hello dear viewers, welcome back to Let's Play Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. We're going to return to Granite Grant and hopefully make this video a little bit shorter, a little bit faster paced than the last one. I'm definitely awake this morning and I'm getting started with my day rather than finishing it off. So if I recall, we are going to the snake pits, because the vaults were getting kinda rough on us. I think we have good resistances for the snake pits. Occasionally... oh, that's an alarm there. Occasionally there will be salamanders, which are fire-based, and shock serpents, which are electric-based, but we have 2 pips fire resistance, and we have the binary resistance of electricity resistance already, so we should be good there. Yeah, salamander. They will sometimes breathe fire at us, but it's not bad enough that I feel like we need to treat them with too much caution. The fact that we were struggling with the vaults a little, but not too much, suggests that we should just breeze through a couple levels here of the snake pits. 5 may still be tough. What's in this shop? Nothing too terribly exciting. Okay. Another troll hide. I think our fire dragon armor is better than troll leather armor, though there is a non-Randart, a unique troll leather armor that's really good. It has even higher than normal regenerative properties, and okay, good. Charms at level 10. Ugh, deflect missiles still uncastable. Alright, well, that's fine, I suppose. We'll crank it up another level. Yeah, air magic being... If I had known that this was coming, and in fact the next character I do, I will definitely do this. I would have put 4 or 5 points into air magic first, and then leveled earth magic. Since we have a good aptitude for earth magic normally, it wouldn't level nearly as slowly. But fortunately, in 0.15, why are you guys not attacking that? There we go. In the next trunk version, they are removing the cross-training penalty for the elemental magic schools, which I think is great. I mean, it kind of makes sense, the whole, you can't be a fire mage and an ice mage. But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of cool to imagine this elemental mage that's got, one hand wreathed in flame and the other in frost. And yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm very okay with it. Plus, it makes it a little less devastating when the first spellbook you find is a fire spellbook and the second spellbook you find is an ice spellbook, and you're like, well, one of these is going to be useless to me. Ooh, that was a nice shadow creatures. Yeah, boom. This one guardian serpent is really hanging in there. Okay. Yeah, the downside of shadow creatures is that the duration is not very long. You can't just sort of summon a handful and walk around willy-nilly. Yeah, we are definitely strong enough to deal with the snake pits fairly easily. I mean, that was a greater Naga, and we just blasted it down without too much trouble. I mean, we should still use caution here, because, I mean, as with anywhere, in particular, anywhere that has creatures that use weapons, we run the risk of bumping into, some critter that's carrying an artifact around and just getting aced. And, of course, you know, if our summons kill things, we're not getting quite as much experience, but that's fine. The experience penalty isn't as relevant as, you know, living. You can't get experience if you're dead. I do at some point... let's get some allies here. There we go. I do at some point want to memorize that Orb of Destruction so we have a long-range alternative to our Bolt of Magma and our Iron Shot. Because this, 4-tile range? It's really frustrating sometimes. Especially since we can't really close distances particularly well. It'd be nice if we had found a spellbook yet that has Blink in it. But alas, we have not. One really nice thing about the snake pits is that if you have poison resistance, which, shame on you if you don't have poison resistance and you're going into the snake pits, you're probably going to die. Pretty much everything here is easily edible to you. Yeah. At least it's a soft 4 tiles, not a hard 4 tiles. As in, it doesn't penalize you for the diagonals. Like 1, 2, 3. Oh, I guess a straight diagonal doesn't work. You have to have at least one instance of a straight line. Huh. Yeah, so that's really short range. This is one area where being a follower of Behemet is really nice. The god of destructive magics. He increases the range of your spells. Your destructive spells, specifically. Non-destructive. What are you doing casting non-destructive spells, you pansy? But yeah, it increases it by 1 tile, which in some instances doesn't matter all that much. In other instances, it's huge. Like, for example, Magic Dart already has maximum line of sight range. So increasing it doesn't do anything for you, because you can't target something that you can't see. However, something like Fireball, which normally has just 1 short of maximum line of sight range, is increased to maximum line of sight range, which means you can actually hit with the explosion something that you cannot see, which is a rare effect. There's some things that can do it, certainly. Fulminant Prism, Fulminant Prism is an example of one that you can... It's sort of a timed mine. It charges up over a couple of turns and then explodes. And it also explodes if something walks into it. And you don't have to be in line of sight for it. So it's a really nice spell if you are playing something like a Spriggan, a really fast character. Oh, hi, Mr. Ball Python. Maybe I'm imagining things. I thought the color of the background changed there. I'm hallucinating. I'm losing it, dear viewers. Going crazy. Did we get... Oh, yeah. Nagamage teleported us. Whatever. Not concerned. I may be a little overly cautious on this level. I think I can speed it up a little bit. Ooh, goody. A Scroll of Amnesia. Those are really useful for people who are not followers of Sifmuna. And I believe Sifmuna is getting a bit of a nerf in the next patch. I think you lose the ability to forget spells when you worship Sifmuna. Or you no longer possess the ability to... That's no longer one of the abilities that Sifmuna will grant to you. which is a real shame. Like that was a really neat feature of Sith Muna, I think. Just letting you tailor your spell book really, really cleanly, or your set of spells, not your spell book. You can also, if you have not noticed this particular feature, you can forget a spell by destroying the spell book in which it is contained. So by permanently getting rid of the ability to memorize that particular spell, you can forget it. Which, in some cases is really useful. If there's only one spell in a spell book and you only need it early on, like your starting spell book, for example, if you play a caster sort of background, a lot of the time you're going to memorize a handful of them, and then halfway through the game you'll never use them again. Or there will be one of them that's useful early on that you never want again. I'm thinking, for example, of Searing Ray from the Conjuration spellbook, the Conjurer background. It's very, very good early on, levels 2 through 10 or 2 through 15 or so. It's strong, and its final turn of use is a bolt type spell instead of a beam type spell, which makes it very useful. That being said, in the late game, it really falls off just because it has a very short range, and it also, it has a fairly low spell power cap because it's a level 2 spell. It's not going to be an end game nuke. So, so once you've memorized that, and Iskandarin's Mystic Blast, and Iskandarin's Battle Sphere, and obviously Magic Dart you want to keep through the entire game, because it's really good. It goes from being a damaging spell to being kind of a utility spell. Lets your Battle Sphere target stuff at max range, lets you pull things from across a room, etc., and it only costs 1 mana point, so, in a pinch, if you have 1 mana left, and you just are terrible at all weapons, then you can zap something with a Magic Dart as a last-ditch effort. So yeah, if you've memorized all, those 4 spells, you can destroy your Book of Conjurations to forget Searing Ray and not feel bad about it, if you need a couple extra spell levels. Alright, so I think we are fine going ahead and doing Snake 5, considering that we accidentally stumbled onto the rune in Swamps 5. I think we'll be fine down here. We are getting there with our abilities here, with our skills. Really want to get Deflect Missiles online. I know I keep saying that, but it really is going to, you'll see the difference. I mean, we will just be able to frolic, just waltz towards ranged creatures without caring about our speed delay. It's a very, very, very strong spell. I mean, it's a level 6 spell, so it should be strong. If you're spending 6 mana casting something, it better have a pretty robust effect. Though I've found a little bit of a dip in the power of 7th level spells, oddly. I think it's just coincidental. I'm sure it's not by design, but I feel like there are a lot of 7th level spells that are just not as good as 6th level spells. Like Haste, for example, is a 6th level spell, and it's one of the most useful spells in the entire game. As far as personal modification effects go, it may be the most useful spell in the entire game. I'm probably exaggerating there slightly, but really only slightly. I mean, there is something to be said. Oh, Piffle, Mara, the Lord of Illusions. It's a unique Rakshasa that is stronger even than normal Rakshasas. Ooh, Roger Zelazny, Lord of Light. That is a fantastic book. I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun quote from it. Yeah, it's a great book. It's sort of a sci-fi slash Eastern religion hybrid. I don't know. It's really cool. It's hard to explain without giving away some of the I don't know, some of the charm of the book. But very, very good. If you like to role play, if you like to do pen and paper games, you can get some excellent excellent ideas from that book. Oh yeah, another thing Mara does is he summons copies of you, which are as strong as you are and therefore insanely dangerous. The stronger you are, the stronger your. Let's have them focus on. Yeah, I mean, he's got Iron Shot. Gosh, what can we do here? We just encountered him in a really awkward place. This wide open room with no line of sight blocking. We don't have a scroll of fog. I suppose drinking a potion of agility will help help us avoid the iron shots that he's throwing out. And I do think we need to take a step sideways here. Yeah. Okay. So, what about Bolt of Magma? Yeah, that gets both of them. If we can kill Mara, then our illusory self will vanish as well. Ugh. Low on mana. Out of summoned critters. Mara has triplicated himself. Oh, we don't even have a blink scroll. Reading a scroll of teleportation would probably be suicide. But it may be our only option. We don't have a scroll of summoning, so that's out. Ooh, wait a minute. We have god abilities. We also have this aura of abjuration. If we can get one more mana point back. The question is, do we want to use aura of abjuration to get rid of our clone here, our ghost? Or do we want to use Slouch in the hope that Mara is fast enough to be slain by it? I don't think he is. He's not low enough on health to die to it, I don't think. So I think our best bet yeah, I don't think he can do all that much damage to us in absence of the illusion. So I think our best bet is to try and hold out for one more mana point here. And then abjure this. Oop. Ooh, nice. It also gets rid of his illusory selves. That's a big bonus. I did not know that that would happen, but I am certainly glad that it does. Here we can just... Boom! Awesome! We did it. Wow. Tough fight. Very tough fight. Let's pick up this demon blade just so nobody else stumbles across it and uses it. I mean, obviously we aren't going to be using it, but... Whew, alright. Mara is always tough. There's no point in the game where he is easy. Well, I mean, I'm sure maybe there's a point in the game where you can just roll over him with a sufficiently powerful spellcaster, but if he summons illusion of you and your illusion casts Firestorm on you, then that's not very fun, is it? This is interesting. We can burn down those trees. Our bolt of magma should be strong enough. Oh, let's get rid of this empty wand of cold. With the sort of lesser wands, the ones that aren't super impressive, basically anything but Wand of Healing, Teleportation, and Haste, although not Haste for us, obviously. You only need to keep one of them. I mean, you're not going to have 2 Wands of Cold that you spend Scrolls of Recharging on. You're going to have 1 Wand of Cold, and when you need to recharge it, you will. Generally is how that goes. That's not always the case. If you are, going with a pure Evocations build, just blasting things, then you might want to have a couple that are both at full charges, so you guarantee that you don't run out in the middle of a fight. But generally speaking, you only need 1 wand. The reason why I like to have more than 1 wand of Heal Wounds is for that exact situation where you run out of 1 and you still need more charges, and spending even a single turn to recharge it could be lethal. Vashnia. Not familiar with Vashnia, I don't think. I might have fought her before. Oh, yeah, I have fought her before. She's obnoxious. She has Portal Projectile, which turns her bolts into smite targeting, so you can't hide behind your summons or behind enemies. She can blink herself and you and the other Nagas around her. Just blink everybody. So we're gonna summon some more allies here. And just kind of make our way over here slowly to where we have a break in line of sight. Like, it's worth the turns we're spending, it's worth the damage we're taking to be able to get a little choke point here and get a few allies lined up. And yeah, here we go. See, now we can just... Oh, we're out of mana. We can just bash her down. The fact that we summoned a Naga that's constricting her means it's harder for her to blink away. Though that obviously did not stop her this time. Again, out of mana. This is one of the many reasons why we're training spellcasting, is because it increases our reserves of magic. Ooh, ouch. Fire bolts, no fun. This is one of those situations where I'm waiting until we hit 6 mana, and then I'm gonna risk casting Deflect Missiles. It's a big risk, but here I think the reward would be worth it. It'll make this fight a lot easier. Yes, we got it. Good. Good, good. Okay. We should be okay now, actually. I mean, we still have to be careful, but they can't really hurt us all that well. between deflect missiles and our shield and our armor class. Ooh, wow, it ran out. Was overwhelmed. I really want to get rid of Vashnia. I think if we get rid of her, the rest of this fight will go smoothly. Oh no, I do want to be using cold. Well, except it's out. Ugh. Let's go ahead and drink a potion of heal wounds. Do that early rather than last second. Ooh, who's constricting us? One of these Naga sharpshooters. Constriction is pretty dangerous even for us. It deals increasing damage over time. Okay, good. I was kind of guessing as to which one was constricting us, and I figured it was the one using a melee weapon and not the one using a ranged weapon. This Naga that's bashing at us is not going to hurt us. Ah, we have enough for deflect missiles again. Good. 2 casts in a row. The reason why I'm so excited is because it's still a 14% failure rate, which is really risky. Now we have to kill the Naga because he's constricting us. I mean, you'll notice we didn't take any damage from it the first few turns, but eventually it will just straight up kill you in a turn or two. I mean, it'll do 20, 30 plus damage a turn, regardless of your armor class. I'm really glad that he stepped closer to us. I'm also glad that we're not a demon spawn. We've seen several weapons of Holy Wrath now. And I feel like they would have been really tough for us to deal with if we were vulnerable to them. Wow. Let's go ahead and drink our other potion of heal wounds. Being pretty liberal with our resources here. Can we summon an ally? Yeah, we can. I guess let's try this Wand of Paralysis. Sort of out of ranged options here until we regen some mana. Can we block line of sight by doing this? Sort of. Go attack her. There we go. Good Anaconda. Excellent Anaconda. Let's eat Vashnia. We've earned a snack. I like eating unique enemies. It's very satisfying. Scimitars. We don't care about scimitars. It would take us forever to learn how to use them. I mean, if we find some obscenely good artifact of another weapon type, that's the reason why we haven't trained maces and flails beyond the minimum needed to get to Mindalay. Because, you know, we could pick up some sword of kill everything and want to be able to use it. What do we get? A Book of the Sky. Mostly useless to us because our air magic is not great. Though Airstrike is somewhat tempting. Probably not worth the spell levels because it will never get any stronger than it is there, and it's not super strong as it is. The nice thing about Airstrike is that it's smite targeted. There aren't that many of those effects in the game. For you, at least. There are tons for your enemies. Torment. Torment smite targeted. Torment's a real bummer. So we've reached the point where Deflect Missiles, I feel, is reasonably safe to cast. And since we're seeing a lot of sharpshooters, I don't mind keeping it up. Shock Serpents, by the way, will shock you when you hit them, so be careful. Snakes! I am being a little cavalier with this level, using Auto Explore. Particularly cavalier since we've already encountered Mara and Vashnia, and those are both strong enemies, not to be trifled with. So let's be a little smarter about this. Woo! Yeah, glad we didn't approach it from down here. That would have been a much tougher fight. As it is, we've got him in a choke point. Though there is a guy with a polearm there, which is slightly frustrating. I don't think a regular Naga can really do enough damage to us for us to need to be concerned. Though this constriction is starting to be frustrating. There we go. Let's just Bolt of Magma them down. Yeah, that's a lot more efficient. I forget that Bolt of Magma is actually lower level than our Iron Shot, so it's going to be a little more mana efficient, especially since the spell power is not quite as good, but comparable. Stone Arrow, by the way, is the... I was trying to think of that the other day, and I couldn't remember the name of the spell. Stone Arrow is the level 3 version of Iron Shot, which is the level 6 version of Lehudib's Crystal Spear. The sort of short-ish range, high damage, single target spells. Charms, level 11. Deflect Missiles, still at 14%. Okay, we're going to need to get Charms to level 12, apparently. Which I think is fine. I don't even know if there are charms that we're going to want to memorize other than Deflect Missiles. But, you know, it'll maybe give us another pip of spell power as well as making it easier for us to cast it, and... I mean, we don't know any other charms, do we? Oh, yeah, Regeneration. Okay, so there's at least one other spell that is benefiting from us putting spell levels into charms. I just feel really bad when I'm training a skill solely for a single spell, and I know I'm never going to use that spell again. It's why I only have, 6 levels in translocations, 2 levels in transmutations. I don't anticipate using either of those very much. The downside of the Gargoyle Trevritos hybrid build is that our aptitudes for spellcasting are not awesome. I mean, they're not the worst. Ooh, good shadow creatures. Though somehow a Guardian Serpent snuck up behind us. That's a little annoying. Let's see, we can only get a couple of them. Let's just get some more allies going. I'm curious now how 2 Guardian Serpents snuck up behind us, but who's constricting us? The Anaconda. Oh, okay. Hard to tell which Anaconda. Oh, that's right. Mana Vipers can sap our mana. Let's... Oh, no. If you press the period key, you will fire no further than the tile that you are targeting. So it's very useful for when you have an ally standing behind a monster and you want to make sure you don't accidentally hit your ally and turn it hostile to you or kill it or something not fun like that. Okay, here it looks like we can use Bolt of Magma efficiently. Generally, my rule of thumb is that as long as you're hitting 3 or more monsters with a bolt spell, it is more efficient than a single target spell. Okay, so this is probably the final vault area here, given the number of powerful critters that are pouring out. I'm trying to think if it's worth reading a teleportation scroll. It might be. Let's give it another turn. It's just a little hard for me to tell here how dangerous our situation is. For one, I'm not sure which of these anacondas is constricting us. My guess is that it's the one directly beneath us. We still have a healthy amount of health. Okay, yeah. But the fact that we're not seeing any end to these enemies, I think I am going to go ahead and read a scroll of teleportation. Just because we're low on resources. Yeah. That was a good teleport. Yeah, very good teleport. I feel good about that. Let's sort of explore the outer areas here. I feel like one of the reasons why that fight was kind of tricky is because somehow some guardian serpents got around behind us. I don't know for certain that's because they came up from where we had been exploring previously, but I get that impression. Oh, no, we don't want to go back there. Absolutely not. We want to kind of go down here. Sort of hug the walls. Anacondas are surprisingly tough. I underestimated anacondas the first time I encountered one, and I was squeezed to death. Ha ha ha, blah. If you're not already at max piety with Chabritos when you enter the snake pits, you will be at max piety when you leave. Many of the snakes here are extremely fast on their own, and that means more piety for you. I think the formula... Ooh, a mimic. A ravenous mimic. Not worried. You may notice that our melee capabilities are kind of dropping off a little bit. It's because our flail at, 10 plus 4 damage is really a little lackluster in the boom boom department. Yeah, like one of any of these creatures by itself is trivial for us at this point. It's in conjunction with each other. 2 monsters is generally more than twice as dangerous as 1 monster. Because they can, they can synergize with each other. Yay, synergy. We can fly, and nothing in here can petrify us because we're immune to petrification, so not worried about flying over deep water. I'm not sure if paralyzation effects also drop you out of the sky if you're flying. Maybe. that could be something to be concerned about. But in absence of more data on that, I'm going to assume that we're safe, particularly since we're reasonably resistant to hostile enchantments, and paralysis is one of the easier ones to resist, I think. That's why the Hexes rework is going to be nice. Like, as it is in 0.14, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it feels like the stronger the Hex is, the more easily it is resisted, which is really not good for anybody that trains Hexes. It's why Spriggan Enchanters are no longer the sort of auto-win race background combination. In older versions, in 0.08 or earlier, I think, Spriggan Enchanters could just kind of run through the whole game. Spriggans were and are still very, very fast. They can outrun nearly anything in the game. There are only a few, like Black Mambas, I think, can outrun you. But most everything else you can outrun, and they have incredibly high levels of stealth, and they're very good at stabbing things. So you could just train your stealth and your hexes and just go invisible, run through the entire dungeon. Anything that noticed you, you could just put to sleep and then stab it. And yeah, there's a really good speedrun video still floating around there somewhere. I think it's from 0.08 that it's like a 2-hour speedrun, I want to say. Ooh, Wand of Heal Wounds. Nice to finally get one of those. That's a big plus for us. It's especially useful to us because of our reduced health reserves. If you just think about it this way, it restores a greater percentage of our health per charge than more robust races. I mean, the Deep Dwarf that I had going there for a while, that had 300 health or something by the end, was not getting a lot of benefit from a Wand of Heal Wounds. It was sort of an in-between. You duck around a corner and use it a couple of times to prepare you for the next wave of enemies kind of thing. That was actually kind of fortuitous that we were teleported there. Sometimes even taking 2 turns per tile, it's useful to move towards something if it's one of those enemies that kind of alternates between walking towards you to melee attack and shooting you with ranged projectiles. It's usually worth it to take a step towards it and cut down on the number of turns that you are exposed to danger. Like there, if we had just stood there and waited for him to come to us, he never would have closed completely because he was wielding a polearm. And he might have just stood there spitting poison at us, in defiance of the player character Naga's breath recharge time. Yeah, this is pretty clearly the vault area. I mean, obviously it's the only place we haven't explored yet, and we haven't seen the rune yet, so there we go. It is the vault, but could have also discerned it from the ton of dudes and dudettes guarding it. Lots of greater Nagas, which are more dangerous to some than they are for us. I mean, greater Nagas are really rough if they catch you off guard before you've explored all of Vaults 5. Or not Vaults 5, Snake 5. Because they can, teleport you around against your will. And that can be pretty bad if you land right in the vault. Naga ritualists are tough if you're not immune to poison. Even if you are resistant to poison and not fully immune, their version of Olgreb's toxic radiance that they will conjure up. It's a sort of an aura of poisoning. It will break through your poison resistance. Like, you will become poisoned at least to a mild extent. But we are completely immune. We do not care about poison. Here, it's fine to kind of run in. I mean, even if there are a bunch of enemies, which, you know, there are a couple here. I mean, you can imagine how stuffed full of enemies this vault was. I mean, think of all the critters we've killed nearby. There we go. All the critters that we've killed over here. Imagine them all just standing around in that room, shoulder to shoulder. That's kind of what, on a much smaller scale, that's what ziggurats are like. If you imagine the vault that we're standing in right now, except about half the size, and one end is just stuffed full of monsters. Ooh, there it is! Yay, the serpentine Rune of Zot. I'm really disappointed in these snake pits because we got no treasure. There's no treasure in this vault. That's the worst. Just the absolute worst. No shinies. I mean, maybe some of these weapons were in there and just the various monsters were using them, but none of those are impressive. Lame. Well, we can't have everything, I suppose. And we did get a wand of heal wounds out of the deal, so I suppose that's something. Plus, you know, we got the rune, which is nice, and we gained a decent amount of experience exploring this level. Yeah, our charms is almost at 12, which should make deflect missiles castable all the time. It's already at 12%. I think as soon as that charms rolls over, should be good. But for now, we're going to head back to our stash and polish off this video here. A little bit shorter than the last couple, which is good. I'm sorry that they've been running so long, dear viewers, but you know, it happens. I won't even do stash stuff on screen this time. I don't feel like rambling about nonsense this time. So I will simply thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.